You can go one way or you can go the other way. You can go a positive way of looking at it and fighting, or you could just surrender. And to me, surrender's never an option, but maybe it was because I had my son to fight for. Like you had your daughter to show. Like I can't let them see, because if this had happened to them, I'd want them to fight. So I'm going to fight to show them that it's not all that bad.
Almost in tears. I've been a trauma patient myself. Whenever somebody is bringing up their traumatic past, it does wake up the trauma in me as well. It was just remarkable knowing that the people who were next to you are dead.
Hey, it's Marc Fucarile, founder of the Marc Network Mobility Awareness Resource Community. You could download our free app in Apple or Google Play stores. It's Marc Network Inc., M-A-R-C, Network Inc. It's free to download. It's a positive and supportive community for individuals facing mobilities and disabilities, as well as their loved ones and the community that services them, to engage in conversation, share information, and share resources. It's like an Instagram and Facebook all in one, but it's all geared for people facing different challenges. You can post pictures, videos, share, like, comment, direct message other people on the app. Yeah, check it out.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. At today's podcast, we are having Marc Fucarile. Marc Fucarile is an amputee. Let me give you a snip biography about Marc. Marc, on April 15th, 2013, Marc was the casualty of one of the Boylston bombing. And he has been through this ordeal, and he lost one of his legs. Which side of your leg you lose, Marc?
My right leg above the knee.
Okay. The powerful blast immediately took his right leg above the knee and nearly his left leg as well. He woke up in the hospital missing his right leg, fighting to keep the left leg, covered with burns and loads of machines all over his body and in his heart. His recovery was long with many surgeries, in draft, and a hard decision about whether or not to amputate his left leg, the second leg. Can you imagine? Had to continue the fight for 3 years to keep his left leg, and one of those years consisted of living in Bethesda, Maryland, at the Walter Reed National Military Medical Center. We welcome Marc Fucarile to The Missing Piece, where the stories of resilience and voices of hope is been listening to. The missing piece, I always reiterate, it's not just the amputation. It's not just for amputees. It's the missing piece in everyone's life that we have. I'm going to start with you, Marc. We have several questions for our listeners who may not know your full story. How do you describe the journey that led you to where you are today, physically, emotionally, and an advocate?
Yeah.
Thank you, Marc.
Thank you. And thank you for having me on, Lydia. I appreciate it. I remember meeting you at the Abilities Expo, and you were just such a positive light in the room, and it was great meeting you, and I'm glad we stayed in touch and that you're having me on the show. So yeah, I was a father to a young boy. I was working lots of hours. A buddy of mine that we graduated high school with, went into the Marines right after high school, and he was retiring a few days before the marathon and decided he wanted to run the marathon. So we, as a group of friends, went out to support him, and that was when my life changed. We were at the race on April 15, 2013 in Boston, right on Boylston Street, which is pretty much the finish line. And we witnessed the first bomb go off at the finish line. And it was really scary, really, really loud, really big. And then 12 seconds later, the second bomb went off, and it just happened to be right next to my right leg, and took my leg. I was on the ground trying to get up, police officer was putting me out on fire. A couple other people in the video that I got to see from the surveillance put me out on fire again. Luckily, I was so blessed to have a complete stranger that ran into danger. Like so many people that day ran in to help so many people that they didn't even know. There was 265 injured at the Boston Marathon that day, give or take. There was 17 amputees that day and 3 people passed away that day at the marathon, unfortunately. I mean, complete strangers ran in to help us. And one of them that really helped me was Crystal Campbell. Crystal Campbell was one of the ones that passed away. Martin Richard passed away and Lindsay Lou passed away. But one of the strangers that ran in to help was Kayla Quinn. She was an off-duty nurse from Mass General Hospital. She was there with another nurse friend of hers just to watch and cheer on the race. And when it happened, both of them sprung into action and ran into potentially a dangerous situation to help people that they didn't know. And if it wasn't for her and then people like Jimmy Davis and Shayna, 2 Boston police officers, I wouldn't be here today. And there was a first cop on scene that helped me out, and I can't remember his name. I got to meet him. He helped so many people that day himself. He was the first one to put me out on fire. I was the first one he came to, and then he focused his energy on a young boy, a baby that was in a baby chair whose dad also lost a leg that day. So yeah, we rushed. There was no ambulances for me. Laying there, they triaged. I ended up taking a paddy wagon because the cops put me in a paddy wagon and drove me to the hospital with another young lady that had lost her leg as well, Roseanne Sedoya. Me and her got put in a paddy wagon with 2 firefighters, and they transported us to Mass General. And that's where my journey of recovery began. I was in Mass General for 45 days. I was on the burn floor. I was ICU for weeks and weeks, doing surgery after surgery. Then they transferred me into Spalding Rehabilitation Hospital, which I was there for 55 days. And I was going back and forth between hospitals to have day surgeries quite a bit. And then after that 100-day stint, I got sent home, which I never should have because I had some serious issues still had more surgeries to go through. So we did day surgeries from home to the hospital to back to home. Then I spent the rest of 2013 and most of 14 trying to find doctors to fix my amputation and fix my foot because I couldn't weight bear on my left foot because of the damage that was done to it. It hurt. The pain was so severe. My leg, I had 5 revisions on my right amputated leg because it kept getting infected and they had to keep cutting more and more and more. So I spent quite a while trying to get fixed so I could actually get a proper fit to wear a leg to be a father to my 5-year-old son. So that was a pretty good start of it. And it was a long recovery. I had some lucky and blessed enough to have people advocate for me down at Walter Reed, knowing that I still needed help and they knew those doctors could help me. And then the doctors got on board down there and they wrote letters to their higher offices and people in the government to offer their services to me so that they could keep their skills sharp to help the veterans. And they were able to build my private insurance. So they were able to pay the military, get paid for it, and I benefited, but they benefited by keeping their skills sharp, working on wounds that were similar to those of veterans that were coming home with them. So I lived at Walter Reed for 365 days. I did physical therapy 5 days a week, OT, mental health. I did a lot of different stuff down there that was amazing. It was the best place I ever could have been, and all the help. I was blessed by all the support from people. And then I was able to come home and really focus on being a father to my son after that journey. And you know, Lydia, I got a lot of things going on. I volunteered for a lot of nonprofit organizations, helping raise a lot of money for other organizations, mentored kids with missing limbs, limb differences, kids with autism, spinal cord injuries. I just started giving back because I was so blessed with so many people giving to me. We could touch more on these things as we go in the conversation. And then I opened up my own foundation, and I also built that Marc Network, that mobile app, free mobile app for people and families, just trying to give back, trying to help people have a voice, trying to help people find resources that are available because through my journey, we learn how difficult it is. So yeah, now here we are today. But I know there's a lot of blanks I left, so I know you have some questions. I don't want to answer all your questions in one long-winded story. So
No, you going, and again, I'm just amazed when you started talking. I'm almost in tears. I was just keeping it inside because I've been a trauma patient myself. Whenever somebody is bringing up their traumatic past, it does wake up the trauma in me as well. And not that, I'm trying to bring piggyback to our lives, but it was just remarkable knowing that the people who were next to you are dead due to the bombing. And I remember those days, and when that news break off, that this the Boston Marathon bombing, and I did not know I will ever get to meet someone who was a casualty to that. So after after surviving the bombing and becoming an amputee, what were the greatest community forces, formal or informal, that help you rebuild your life? You've already sold it, but again, you can just relay it a little bit because you already mentioned it.
Yeah, no, I'd love to elaborate on that question specifically for you because I was so lucky that there were there was an organization called Semper Fi, as well as members of Semper Fi that were there with Achilles International. So Achilles International, and then more or less the Freedom Team from Achilles, they were there. They were veterans that had disabilities, that had amputations and different things, and they had just finished the Boston Marathon and had gotten back to their hotel room to only witness it on TV. So they knew that they had to do, and they did. One of the guys, a couple of the guys from Semper Fi were like, we need to be there. We need to go tell these people everything's going to be okay. Life is still going to be good for them. And because that's what made a difference in their lives, community, other people facing those challenges. They showed up at our hospital room. I got blown up on Monday. I think they were there by Friday, right? And when I came out of my coma, they were there. They were already been there helping other people. They might have not got to my room until like weeks later or a couple, whatever. I don't exactly remember the date, but having them in that room, seeing those people, those men and women with missing limbs similar to mine, talking to me and telling me stories and then filling me in on what they're capable of doing every day changed my outlook on life right away. And it meant the world. So community's huge. And that's when I got back involved with Camp No Limits, kids with missing limbs and limb differences. Like, I thought I was going to come in and teach these kids with missing limbs. They taught me that how strong and resilient they are and I should be and I can be, and made me and motivated me to go do marathons, motivated me to go skydiving, motivated me to get involved in sled hockey, play these different monoski, Disabled Sports USA. Like, people started a fund specifically for the marathon bombing survivors that were amputees to be involved in the disabled sports, to give us an opportunity. And we met more community. I met more people and I saw everything they were doing. And it really showed me that I'm going to be able to do so much more than I thought I would. And that's community also led me by talking and engaging in a conversation with another above the knee amputee. I found out about this thing called the double wall socket. I was having a real hard time keeping a socket on to fit properly. But as soon as 3.5 years later, I talked to this guy, I found it. I found it just by the community, by talking to somebody going through the same situation. And now that's the only socket I wear, and it doesn't give me any problems. I'm not getting new sockets every other month. So yeah, those are organizations that Halo for Freedom I got involved with, my buddy's celebrity softball game down in Texas, meeting more veterans. And I love the community. And that's what those are those people, the ones that helped me change my outlook and show me the way.
The organization, what do they do?
So Camp No Limits is a camp. It's a camp. They have camps all over the U.S. for kids with missing limbs and limb differences from all over.
Of course, of course. Okay, let's keep going. Was there a moment when you realized that community support matters just as much as the medical care with your recovery?
Yeah, I mean, I had a lot of good family, a lot of good friends that were there for me. They helped me move. They came to the hospital. They pushed me. They didn't they felt bad for me, but they didn't feel bad for me. They said, "Hey, you got to get up. Come on, let's go. Nope, you're not sitting in there. Let's go." And that support, and then those organizations that supported me. Yeah, that was just as important as the medical care. I mean, I was in Boston. I was at Mass General. I had some of the best care. Then I was at Walter Reed, which was the best care, like by far. I mean, Mass General saved my life. Walter Reed put me back together, right? So without those two entities and organizations, I don't know where I'd be physically. I'd be dead, right? But also then the programs, then the friends, then the community. If I didn't have America's Fund, Semper Fi guys, the guys from Semper Fi, the Achilles team, the Camp No Limits and Halo for Freedom and, PX, and I didn't have, the Verb Foundation. I didn't have all these other organizations, Granite State Adaptive Sports Program. If I didn't have those people in my life, I would not have the mental strength that I have, right? In the know-how to do what I'm doing. So it's hand in hand, community like that and organizations and emotional support versus the medical. It's hand in hand. You can't have one without the other.
So community engagement, as the title of your podcast, was very, very important in your recovery.
It's community is everything. I mean, you just said it. Like, you're going down and you're praying and you're sending things and that, you talk, it's all about community. You go down to the church, right? There's community, you get product, you get stuff to give away. Like that doesn't happen if there's not a community, right? Like it's everything, people don't understand. We can't do everything in the world individually. Like it takes a community, right? Our roads are built by a group of people. Our buildings are built by a different group of people. The power is kept on by another group of people. That's communities and communities in multiple communities is what creates the world. And in, so many different people and different things. And without this one doesn't work and that one doesn't work. And that's why, again, the mobility awareness resource community. That's my app, Marc, Mobility Awareness Resource Community, bringing awareness to resources available through the community, to the community, by community, right? We're also, our model's changing from communities of communities, taking nonprofit organizations, a whole bunch of them, bring their communities on to one location. And now, guess what? If Lydia's nonprofit organization and her group of community, and then the Remarkable Foundation comes on with my group, now we have, instead of 10 and 10, now we got 20 members of the similar community. And then we bring on United Spinal, and then we bring on Camp No Limits. And now we have 60,000 community members to talk to each other, to communicate, to help one another. And now with those numbers, we're so much stronger. We're a stronger community. So that's what we're building. That's what we're working on. And that's why I love it. And like I said, if it wasn't for me talking to somebody in my community, another amputee, I never would have found the right socket that I'm living my best life in right now.
Well, you know what? That socket, I need to know where it is, where you buy it from, because I have spoken to a lot of lower extremity amputees who are suffering from bruises and sores because they don't have the right socket for their lane. And that's something that that's the manufacturer I would like to know. So I could advertise them on my website, and maybe I myself could buy a few for some of the amputees that I support.
Yeah, so these sockets, they're custom fitted and they're called a double wall socket. So it's a double wall. Any prosthetist that's a real prosthetist can make it, right? They all can make it. So if an amputee, tell them they need to question a double wall socket. And a lot of problems with people in the amputee world is they'll stick with one prosthetist, right? Because of loyalty, and that's who's nearby. Or they don't want to switch to another person in the office because they'll feel uncomfortable because that person might get upset with them. And the reality is you need to try new people sometimes. If you're not getting the most, you should not be in pain. Again, there are some medical conditions that will create pain for people. They have to have surgery to fix that. But mostly, if everything else surgically is well with you, you should not have skin breakdown. You should not have sores when you're wearing your leg. Nope. There's adapt skin you could put on. There's better socket fitting, better liners. There's a reason for it. But us as amputees need to communicate the problems that we're having. It pushes hard right here. It's rubbing right here. It's like a knife right there. It's like like someone has a match to my leg. You have to really get descriptive and really talk to your prosthetist to let them know what's going on so they can make the best socket for you. A lot of people say, oh, it hurts, but they don't communicate where it hurts, what that pain is like, because a prosthetist can take that information and do a better job with it. If you say it specifically hurts right here, and why it hurts right here and how the pain is it's a sharp pain, it's a rubbing pain, it's a blistering, it's a knife, it's a match, it's whatever the description that fits that pain is best. That will really help that prosthetist make a better fitting socket for you. A lot of them love to put you in what they call just a typical suction socket with the sleeve, with the ring, and then it stays on. Well, if you're in a hot climate or your weight fluctuates due to medications or your diet, your leg's going to shrink and change, and that socket's going to break seal. That's why I go to a double wall socket. No matter what, if my leg swells, it has a little extra play in the first wall. It's just like a little bowl, it's like a cup. And then my leg goes in it, and there's a sleeve that rolls over, and that sleeve keeps that air from coming in and breaking the seal. So that's the important part of this double wall socket. Then you put the first wall into the sleeve, into the second wall, and you pin it, and it locks in. And you can't break that seal because of that sleeve that's attached to the first wall. It keeps tight around your leg. It fluctuates with your leg. It's the best. It's to me. But again, every amputee is different, Lydia. You know that, right?
Of course.
What works for me doesn't always work for you, and what works for you doesn't always work for me. So we try to
Not at
figure it
all.
out. And the way
Not
we
at
figure
all.
it out is through discussion and conversation, right?
Exactly. Okay, I don't want to keep you longer here, so let's keep
Yeah.
keep it moving. Mark, you're doing very, very well. You've already give me a swell of information that I did not know and helpful to other amputees who might listen to this as well. So I am glad that we are here, even with the double wall socket. Do you know how many amputees will want to hear about the double wall socket and meet with the prosthesis and ask them, can I have a double wall socket and to help them live a better life because they go through so many a times. It's not funny. An infection that they have to go back in and cut part of their legs again and again over and over. Okay, let me ask this. What are some of the misconceptions people still have about amputee trauma survivors?
Yeah, so it's interesting, right? Everybody thinks that I'm friends with every amputee out there, right? Like, oh, you know him, he's an amputee. It's like, yeah, there's millions of amputees, buddy, like millions and millions, right? So that's a misconception that we all know each other, right? And that our injuries are all the same, right? Our injuries aren't the same. Our abilities all vary, right? Based on above the knee, below the knee, hand, arms, hands, and legs, you know. So the misconception is also that like we can't do nothing for ourselves, you know. And we really think, you know, we can really do anything. We still, you know, we still to do anything, you know, and you know, some people have phantom pain, some people don't, right? Some people have nerve pain, some people don't. Some people got both nerve and phantom pain, and some don't. So they categorize us as one person when we're so many different people. And also, you know, I have amputees that they don't like me, and I have amputees that I don't agree with and I don't get along with, right? Just because we're both amputees doesn't mean we have to be friends, right? Just because you're not friends with every person in the world as a able-bodied person. I know you're not, you know, I'm talking to our viewers and your watchers.
No,
But it's like,
with the conversation.
yeah. So it's, you know, it's just, you know, it's in the misconception is too, is like just because they're an amputee and they struggle that they're a nice person, right? Like I know some really rude, mean people, amputee or not amputee, right? So yeah, the misconception, the biggest one is that we kind of all know each other and then we all, you know, like poor us, right? I live a great life, right? Do I, s- do I get frustrated? Do I have a lot of extra challenges? I do. We all do, right? My challenges are no different than yours, and mine and yours challenges are no different than my brother, who is an able body, you know, person. But yeah, we definitely have some other challenges on top. You know, I don't make because I'm missing a leg. It's harder for me to do a marathon than my brother, who's not. Right? It's time, right? It's effort. It's physical ability. He has hip injuries and knee injuries and different stuff, and that you don't see that makes it hard for him. So we all have our own challenges,
Yes,
you know.
yes. So it's quote unquote able body, whereas you and I as an amputee can maybe do more than the ones who within the 5 years that I've been an amputee, I'll tell you this. Do you know how many able bodied individuals have go- ha- gone the other life? And I am still here. Not that I'm celebrating that they are gone, but
Yeah.
the fact is the they always think that our physical disability is enabling us from being They consider being alive. They consider us sick. We're considered sick. And then I tell people, I will tell anybody, orthopedics does not kill anyone.
Yep, that's true. That's true. It's and a lot of people, like you said, we can do so much more. Like I said, like my brother he faces challenges. He's just not an amputee, and so like we're capable of doing a lot more things than some people that would look like they could do more things than us.
It's just the physical being
We always say it. It's been said since we were young. Don't judge a book by its cover.
by its cover.
Everything. And it's not like based on what you look like. It's based on your character of who you are, right? We all like, look like I couldn't do a marathon. I look like I couldn't do a Spartan race. I look like I couldn't drive a race car. I wouldn't be able to play hockey. I wouldn't be able to ski. I do all those. So it's not based on what I look like. It's based on what I am, right? What I'm doing that you can't see. It's you know, that's just it's all based on again the same thing, right? Like people, like I said, it goes back to that the not so nice amputees. Everybody's like, oh hey, and then the
Well, a
person.
personality is a personality. You cannot change somebody's personality. If they were a nice person when they before amputation, they're gonna continue to be nice. If they were not, they're not. That and sometimes the amputation brings some angers in people because they feel like the world is against them. Amputation because of the physical deformity in amputation. Yes, you feel ashamed, you're embarrassed, you feel less than, you feel worthless. But some of those you can create it by yourself, and some of those you can make sure that you eliminate those ideas in your mind and say, okay, I am an amputee, but there is nothing that is gonna stop me. So there, I drove a 15-foot U-Haul truck 1 hour away from my home. Help the people who were doing the work. Help them to park the truck. And when I leave here, I'm gonna go pick up my guys and bring them home in my Toyota Tundra, which I have been driving. I have drove the Toyota Tundra from New Jersey to not Virginia in Maryland, but Virginia in the Southern Virginia, past Roanoke and those places. That's where my husband is from, down those ends. And I'm doing it. Nothing is stopping me.
I think, and I say it all the time, we mentally limit ourselves to what we're able to do, right?
Of course.
So we create our own problems
Yes.
for the most part. We have challenges, right? But we create this image of how we're being perceived all the time. We do it to ourselves.
Indeed.
It's wild. And you started off by saying we were talking about good people, right? I've seen good people, like you said, get salty and be bad people now, right? And then I've seen bad people that I've known that, like, and not bad in the sense of like they were hurting people, but they lived a certain way in life with anxieties and stresses and social. And then this happened to them, one of my friends, and it changed him into the positive person that he is because of the support he received. It changed his perception of other people. He always thought other people were so bad or were like trying to take advantage of him or do something, or they would just he didn't socially, he didn't want to interact with people, right? He was just like, and then after this happened, and by so many people, random strangers, it changed his perspective on people, that people are good, and now he lives a different life, that he's not as stressed and anxiety, and he's more social due to his amputation and because of the experience he had. So it's strange to see some people go one way and some people go the other way. And I think it's here, it's in your head.
It's all in your head. That's so true. With me, with community, I lost my hand during COVID when everybody was hiding inside the house. But I have friends, family, and others, co-workers that rallied around me to make sure that I don't go down. I was having flowers on my table, like when I turned around, the flowers were much more than were much more than the table can hold. I was having food sent to me. Even during the heat of COVID, there was nothing that I was lack of. My family, my friends,
Hey, you weren't went without because of support by your community. They really helped you
of
during
course,
COVID. Yeah,
of course.
that's amazing.
Yeah,
I mean, where would
yeah,
you be without support?
support. And after I went through my pity, my feeling sorry for myself, and then I said, if I continue to be thinking that my hand is gone, life is not going to be worth it for me anymore, am I going to get those people who supported me to still come around me? And I need them to be, I need to dance shoulder with them. Let's go out to dinner. Let's talk. Let's laugh. Let's mix and mingle without me feeling as though my hand, I am an amputee. My hand, I feel bad for myself. My hand, I don't want that. I want something, I want to be the same person that I was before my amputation.
Yep.
So
And
I changed my perspective of life. And again, at that time, I have a 17-year-old daughter. If I go down,
what's that?
I am not
Show her.
helping her. What's going to happen to her? And most of the amputees that I have met who did not come out of that fog, some of them are no longer here.
Yep. Yo, it's true. It'll happen. You will create, yeah, you'll create a big problem for yourself if you don't overcome that challenge. You had, so there's, again, everybody knows that you can go one way or you can go the other way. You can go a positive way of looking at it and fighting, or you could just surrender. And to me, surrender's never an option, but maybe it was because I had my son to fight for. Like you had your daughter to show. Like I can't let them see, because if this had happened to them, I want them to fight. So I'm going to fight to show them that it's not all that bad. Like, if something like this tragic happens to you, you can fight. Because look at, I did, right? That's why I did marathons. That's why I go out and I take every opportunity. And I think like God presents opportunities, right? And he brings these things to you and shows you, and you're not supposed to say no, right? Like, and again, there are some bad opportunities. Don't get me wrong.
And not all opportunities are good opportunities. I get it.
I had an example. I was at a celebrity flag football game in New Orleans for the Super Bowl, week of the Super Bowl, and a buddy of mine had,
Oh, yeah, I remember you told me about that.
yeah, at Warrior Wishes, and he asked me to come help him set up because he had 250 veterans and their families, right? Like, so the veterans and then their whole families that they were coming to this game to watch the celebrity football game, flag football game at this school. And I said, it's Thursday, man. It's been a long Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Now it's Thursday, man. I've been going on my legs. I've been hustling and bustling on Radio Row all week at the Super Bowl. I've been out on the field Monday night, talking to all the players at the hotels, interviewing them. We have a big night tonight at the Dicka Cigar Party to smoke cigars and to network with all these NFL
Okay,
football players.
call yourself big shot now, Mark. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know you.
No, so we're there, and I'm like, I'm just tired and I want to go lay down. But I said, you know what am I gonna do? Not help this guy? He helps so many people. I know I help people too, but that I gotta do it, man. You gotta serve, right? Like you gotta serve others, right? And you're serving him. So I went and I helped set up. I did my part, and I was like, he had to stay a little bit longer, and it wasn't a far Uber ride for him to get an Uber. He was gonna Uber there and Uber back. At least I brought all his material, helped him set up, and then, he could Uber home by himself. But I wanted to go rest. Selfishly, I wanted to go rest, right? And I wasn't looking at it like that, but now I view it as that. And I was sitting in the truck having this exact conversation with myself. Like, I'm just going to go. I'm going to tell him he's going to have to take an Uber. I don't feel good. I just tired. I'm run down. And, I'm like, you know what? What's me going to go rest a little while longer going to really help? If I stay here, I'll probably have more value here helping somebody or helping him. And what, I'm already here. I should just go be a part of it, right? See what happens, right? And as soon as I got out of the car, got into my wheelchair, the first person I run into was this woman. There was nobody all the way to the gate. I went through the gate. There's nobody around. This one woman comes up, and I feel her looking at me, and I'm looking at her, and I said, hey, and she goes, can I ask you a question? And I said, yeah, sure. So I turned around in my wheelchair, and she said, what would you say to a new amputee? And I said, It's a strange question. I said, what I would say is accept this situation. Because if you can't accept this is the new you can't move on. I said, number one. Number two, find community. Find other people facing these challenges so they can help you and guide you through the process and you can learn. I said, so those are the two things. And then number three, I always say my faith, right? Find your faith and your belief in Jesus and God. I think that's helped me because I don't carry anxiety. I let him. And that's where I came, right? That's my conversation with her. And she goes, thank you. Thank you so much. I said, well, why did you ask? And she said, well, my husband just had both of his legs amputated. And I said, wow, that's crazy. I'm like, I'm so sorry to hear that. Here's my business card. If there's anything I can do to help him or help you, let me know. He can, any questions he wants to ask, he can ask me. She said, thank you so much. I said, wow. Okay, I said, I just got to go use the restroom. So I went in, used the restroom. I came out. She was getting a chair from the people. There wasn't even anybody at the ticket thing taking tickets yet because it hadn't started yet. Everybody was still setting up. And she was helping with this food thing where people are selling food. I said, hey, I just want to let you know somebody might have been praying for you. Well, two people were at least praying for you because I was leaving. And it's funny to me because I was selfishly leaving to go rest. And something made me stay. And God showed me the exact reason I should stay was because he showed me right away. The first person I came in contact was somebody that needed to hear something from me. And he showed me that right off the bat. She goes, me and my husband, he's a pastor. We both pray every night. And I said, wow. I said, I just wasn't supposed to be here. And she said, neither was I. But I looked at the list of volunteers and there was not many volunteers. And these kids in this inner city really needed this. They needed something positive for them to have. And they weren't going to be able to have it if they couldn't get the volunteers. So I'm a teacher here and I signed up, even though I was supposed to be home right now helping my husband get ready for his dialysis tomorrow. But I told him he was going to have to do it and figure it out on his own because these kids needed me. So I came. And what God showed me, and the first person I talked to was you. And I was like, wow, to me, it's just crazy. But we just do, right? Do it. You never know what's going to come out of it or who you're going to help. And that's what I do. I just go around and I do everything and anything I could do. Did the media day at that ski spectacular where I learned how to ski I was telling you about with Disabled Sports USA. And they asked me to do the media day. And I said, if I can help one person by being on that media, I'll do it. And years later, I ran into a guy whose sister benefited from that interview. And he thanked me, saved her life. They had intervention after intervention with her since she's lost her leg. And she wasn't motivated to do anything. She saw me on TV 6 months after my accident and said, if he could do that 6 months later, I can do it. And she got up off that couch and she started hiking and she started kayaking and doing stuff. And he said he saved her life because she was becoming really obese, sitting on the couch, not doing nothing in her health and her depression. And he was worried about her. But now she's living a great life. I haven't talked to him since that time I ran into him at the airport. He recognized me. It was crazy. So I just say we do, right? You asked me to be on, no problem. I'm on, right? So
Yeah, that's so true because when last Wednesday I was at the New Jersey nonprofit conference, and the first lady I spoke to there when I showed her my hand that I am an amputee, and then she said, "Can you talk to my dad? He has been an amputee all his life, or almost most of his time that I know him as a father." So, but he is still not taking it well. How could you talk to me? How could you help him to help himself? And so a lot of amputees are going through, not everyone have the same determination and inner strength as some of us.
I mentioned Camp No Limits, the kids with missing limbs and limb differences. And I helped a friend of mine, Paul Eustace, his son's David. He was an amputee and he's a Paralympian athlete now. But Paul asked me to help him with the fundraiser in Massachusetts, in Malden, for camp to raise money. In the camp, a couple of the campers in the camp founder, Mary, they came to support us that night, right, at the event. And they said, man, I'm so happy you're wearing shorts. And it was in the winter. But I was showing off my leg, And she said, you know how much that means to see you doing that? Because some of these kids wear pants all year round and long sleeves to hide their amputations because they're embarrassed. But to see you stand so proudly and so strong, showing off your prosthetic leg, will hopefully motivate and encourage them to do the same thing and be proud of what they have. And that always stuck with me. So I don't wear pants unless I'm in a suit at a wedding, I'm speaking engagement requires me to wear a suit, or I'm at a funeral. Those are the only time I wear pants because
Do you live
pants
in?
put off.
Okay, go ahead. Because I met you. Do you live in Boston or you live in Texas?
I live in Boston. My Massachusetts is my residency, and I'm up there about 60% of the time, at least. At least. But I'm in Texas quite a bit. I have a house in Texas. So
Okay.
yeah, I go back and forth. I travel back because my my wife's she was born with no arms and no legs, and her family is from Texas. So she wants to be in Texas. So when my son graduates high school, which is this year, I'll be changing my residency, selling my house in Boston, and I'll be living down in Texas full time.
Okay, because whenever I talk to you, you said you will say you're in Texas, so and then you talk about Massachusetts as well. It was kind of
Confusing.
no, well, it's so confusing. I know a lot of people have two or more homes that they live.
Yeah. I A lot of people always say, like, "Where is Waldo? Where is Mark?" Like, "Where I?" Listen, every time they come, I go, "Wait, where are you?" I mean, I was just in Dallas, right? Now I'm in Austin. Before that, I was driving across the country from Boston in the RV. Before we were in Boston, I was in Austin, Texas. Before that, I was in Fort Lauderdale. I'm sorry, I was in DC, Washington, DC. I did the Marine Corps Marathon. And then before that, I was in Austin. And then I was in Houston. And then before that, I was in Fort Lauderdale. Then I was in Arizona. Me and the wife were in Ireland, right? So it's a legitimate question for people to ask me, where are you? And I'm like,
So other than going overseas, do you drive the RV everywhere you go and within the United States?
I try to drive the RV a lot because it's an advertising billboard. I have it lettered and wrapped with the Marc Network and the Remarkable Foundation. But it's also about bringing my dogs, bringing my wife. It's easier for us to travel like that than it is sometimes getting to the airport, getting on a plane, getting off a plane, getting a ride. It almost balances itself out when there's at least two of us because of the cost of the airfare, the cost of gas. Like I said, going to the airport, it's like you have to be 2 hours ahead of time because of our disabilities and all of our stuff and equipment. Then you got to get a rent a car when you get somewhere, and we have to get a bigger rent a car, because we have so much equipment because we're both in wheelchairs sometimes. Both of us are. So it, and then the hotels, the cost of the hotels, and then the cost of the dogs. So I'm sorry. But yeah, sometimes it's just
I believe that I'm boring you now, Ma.
no, it's just I am exhausted. I am.
I believe because I've been to the expo and after the expo is done, it will take me like a few days before I recover. So I understand. And so I know it's a lot of it takes a lot of energy out of you. What advocacy are you and most proud of? And what changes do you still hope to see?
Gosh, that's a good question. But I love the advocacy of the inclusion in like Target, right? Like you'll see a lot of Target, you'll see amputees in pictures, you'll see people in wheelchairs in advertisement, right? I love the advocacy for the disabled sports community in the sense of places are starting to adapt, right? Every ski resort pretty much has an adaptive program. So that's like really good. And it's not even the ski resorts doing it, it's nonprofits and people doing it, creating it. But as far as my advocacy is, from what I'm most proud of, is I just advocate for, I do it for multiple different disabilities, people with disabilities. I advocate for them, and I do it with, not only accessibility, I do it through education, informing and education and educating people on products and services that are available. But what I'm really looking forward to is assisted device parking, like walkers, wheelchairs, and having their own parking separate from disabled parking. Because just because somebody's like handicap parking doesn't mean they're utilizing a piece of equipment. Those are the people that really need the space between the doors. Everybody is considered disabled nowadays, right? Like, so you should have handicap parking, right? Because you have facing with a challenge, right? So you should be able to park in the spot that, you can't carry things as far because you have one arm versus two arms, loading in, loading out. You might need an assistance from the store to help load your car with something bigger because maybe, you're challenged, you're facing a different challenge. So for that store to have somebody walk all the way to the end of the parking lot to help you load in, that's not practical because then that person's not servicing his job, right? He's out in the parking lot helping you. But if you're parked closer, he can come out, help you, and then get right back into the work, right? So that's handicap parking because you don't have a 36-inch piece of equipment that needs to fit between two cars, right? So that's the difference with accessible device parking, like a walker, right? If you had a walker, you need that space. Sometimes husbands and wives, two people, get out of a vehicle and they need that 36 inches to 4 feet on each side because they're both in walkers. Or like me and my wife, we're both in wheelchairs. Sometimes when we go out, because if my leg hurts or my foot hurts or I don't have my prosthetic and it's dead, whatever, charge. I'm out in a wheelchair if we're going to be doing a lot of walking, right? I'll bring a wheelchair. So we both need those spots. And sometimes when you go to park, it's only on one side and I can't get her out or I can't get out, because
I I I get it. Yeah,
that's the
because
big advocacy I want to change. And I'd love to see these wheelchair providers and prosthetics offices, they should have to, and they should as a company have loaners for every single one of their, and I don't mean if you have 500 customers, you should have 500 loaners. No, because not at any given time are all 500 customers going to need their wheelchair repaired, right? But there are times where I know people in wheelchairs that they're stuck. I'm like, what do you mean you can't go out? Well, my chair's being repaired. I'm like, well, don't you have a loaner or an old one? They're like, no, they don't have any loaners. I'm like, well, that's ridiculous, right? Like, what do you expect us to do, right? Like, I don't know. It's weird. And then I had a prosthetic guy that never had a wheelchair. He just went from crutches to a prosthetic and then he never got a wheelchair. And, so now he's like, I'm like, what's up? He's like, my shoulders are killing me. My hands hurt, my elbow. I'm like, why? He goes, I'm crutching everywhere. I'm like, well, where's your leg? He's like, I'm like, well, where's your wheelchair? He's like, I don't have a wheelchair, but my leg is out being repaired and they didn't have a loaner for me. I was like, that's unacceptable. That's just little stuff. That's like easy to do. That's easy to fix. I mean, those are all my advocacies that I'd like to see changed. I really would. I mean, I have a big dream. I have a real big dream.
I do the same thing. So, Mark, you're not alone. That's why I am here because the nonprofit foundation is struggling a lot, and we're getting minimal help because of a lot of nonprofit organizations that misuse money that they will use. People don't trust nonprofits. They always look at you like, what is in it for you?
Yep.
What do you want from this? Why are you doing it? But I am doing it because I want to help others, not because I want to enrich myself as an individual.
I believe every nonprofit has to bring value, right? I have mine structured. I'm providing all my money raised by my nonprofit for the most part is through a value that I bring to an individual to raise money, right? Or to pay. So we have access to marathon bibs. We create an experience for people, right? That they're willing to buy into. And that's why I created the Marc Network, which is a digital advertising marketing platform. That is my baby, and that is a B Corp, a public benefit corporation, versus the Remarkable Foundation, which is my nonprofit. So my Marc Network, or the mobile app,
Mhm.
that's going to generate income because it provides a benefit to companies to advertise. So I'm not asking them just to give me money for nothing. I'm asking them to give me money so I can bring awareness to their product to our community, which in return helps our community so they know these products exist. Because a lot of people can't find certain pieces of equipment because they don't even know where to find them. So if I could advertise to them, they get to see where they are and they get to see new technology. So that brings in money. That money now goes into my nonprofit. So I want to be the one responsible for funding my nonprofit. Just what you said, because people don't really want to write that checkbook and people are struggling day to day too, right? Like, and people are giving their last $10, to help others, and that hurts for me to take someone's last $10 to go help somebody else because they need help, right? And a lot of people need help because they're not willing to sacrifice, right? Like, I do love smoking cigarettes, okay? And I don't want to admit it or say it on TV, but I like smoking cigarettes. I'm addicted to cigarettes, but I don't smoke because they cost a lot of money, So, and then I won't be able to do other things that I want to do. And when I go out to dinner, very rare that you'll ever see me order a alcoholic beverage. I'm not a huge believer or fan of alcohol, but again, that will take you and your husband or you and your wife have one alcoholic drink, your bill just doubled, right? Like, and then people will complain, oh, I don't have enough money to turn the lights on. Well, what do you mean? You just went out to dinner and spent $80 on booze and 60 on food, but now you can't pay, it's about I grew up with a mom that worked 3 jobs raising 3 kids. You know what I mean? So I saw sacrifice. And I still, even in my situation with the blessings that I was received by so many people, that's why I'm giving back. I'm giving money that wasn't mine, that was given to me. I'm giving that away. And that's what I'm funding everything myself, right? Over and over again. So I'm the cheapest person in the world. Like, I don't buy Nike shirts. I buy shirts off of my business account at wholesale through Sanma for a quarter of the price. And then I have my logos built into them. I have hats. I don't pay $35, $25 at Lids. I pay $6 for a hat and $5 for a logo, and I heat press it on myself. Now I got an $11 hat instead of a $35 hat. That's cheap, but that's called sacrifice, commitment, and saving money to be able to help others or help myself do other things. You know, I hear people make comments, it must be nice. Oh, must be nice. You're driving in the RV, you're going across the country, you're in Ireland. It's like, okay, must be nice. You got a gym membership, you do steroids, you drink, you smoke, you dip, you have a guitar, right? No.
Marky, you're something else.
Yeah, I'm out of my mind. But I said it must be nice. All right, it must be nice. You got a nice new pair of Nikes. I've had the same pair of Adidas for 2 years. Right? You got 16 new pairs of shoes. I drive a 2016. You got a 2021. Well, you got a 2025. I don't have a new car because I'll take care of my vehicle. I change the oil. I wash it. I clean it. I get what needs to be fixed. Well, it's not running the way you like it, so you get rid of it and you buy a new one. I don't do that. So where you waste, I save. And then that allows me to do other things. And people, you know how it is. But anyways, I encourage every nonprofit to try to bring a value, try to bring a community, try to bring in income as a service. Provide a service for a company or an experience for an individual. When I did those fundraisings for Camp No Limits with my buddy Paul, we would do a comedy show. We would get the comedian to donate his time and we'd sell tickets to the goers. So we weren't just asking people for $50. We were saying, hey, you want to buy a ticket? You're going to get a comedy show versus going to a comedy show and spending $50. You know what I mean? Like, spend it with us. We get to keep 40 of it and we give that guy 10 of it, so we sell 100, that's $4,000. And then we put together raffles and then we create an experience that you're going to go pay for anyways. Like, are you going to go to a concert and watch Jake Giles band or, the OJs, which unfortunately most of these people aren't around anymore. But I mean, you could go watch Beyonce play and spend $150 on the ticket to that concert. Or you could give me $150 for a ticket and come see Beyonce play for us. So like, that's how I recommend we all do it.
So you do create a lot of fundraising efforts indirectly so that you can raise funds for for your non-profit organization and things like that that supports other amputee organizations or non-profit organizations. Because you don't only help other amputees, you also help other non-profit organizations so that they can so that they can thrive as well. I'm just gonna ask you one last question before we close up because I didn't need to go through all of the questions because you've answered every one of them in between. It's just the closing question. What message would you hope listeners will walk away from?
Support and community, right? Find a community to be a part of. But also, my biggest thing that I am a believer in is supporting one another. We're all going through different challenges. So the message I hope people walk away with from my interview is community. Find a community, but also, or maybe even more so, support. Support one another. We're all in the same boat. We're all want the same things. We want to be able to put food on the table, keep a roof over our heads, and have his family be safe. Focus on the three things that we all have in common and support each other in that. Because without support, most of us, we won't get very far, you know, and you never know what the person next to you is going through because a lot of people keep it inside, so always keep that in consideration when someone's acting a certain way or being a certain way that they might be going through something you can't see at home. So support one another and find a community, and that's my message. That's what I would love people to walk away with.
Thank you so much, Marc. Thank you for being here with me, the Missing Piece Foundation, where resilience and hope is our mission. You, the stories of resilience and your voice of hope. You're giving us so much hope with the voice that you shared right now. And your stories of resilience. Thanks for tuning in into The Missing Piece. Don't forget to follow, subscribe, and leave a review. Your support helps us reach more listeners and amplify more voices. Until next time, keep finding strength in your story.